So Southampton look almost set to make their second signing of the window, probably be done by the time this comes out. Bella-kotchap's coming from Bochum. I really like this signing. I think this is a bit of a throwback kind of Southampton signing from 2015, 2016. And following Colin Bazunu, I think this is just really good second signing for Southampton, especially for the fee. Obviously, he's not perfect, and I think there's a couple of concerns. Generally, I assume Bella-kotchap's coming in to replace Jan Bednarek, and he's not really the same profile as centre back as Bednarek. And obviously, Southampton's defence needs to improve. In the Premier League, if you look at expected goals against, Southampton were fifth bottom for that metric. And, that is a defence that, obviously, Tino Livramento's injury didn't help and goalkeeping issues. But bringing in a 20-year-old in Bazunu and 20-year-old in Bella-kotchap, along with Tino Livramento, Carl Walker-Peters isn't necessarily young. Sorry, isn't old. Neither is Salisu. That's a very young... And obviously that has pros and cons, right? But that's a very young defence to kind of be stabilising, because Southampton will be in a relegation battle next year if they don't get these signings right. But apart from that, I think this is a great signing. When you look at Bella-kotchap's numbers last season, obviously he's not playing in a ball-dominant Bochum side. Third lowest possession in the Bundesliga last season, obviously finished 13th. So you're not going to expect him to have good ball progression numbers. And, Mohamed Salisu is one of the best young centre-backs in Europe. And he does that anyway. So you don't really need that from Bella-kotchap. But in terms of kind of being an active young defender in the same way as Salisu, he has that. It's very rare for a young defender, first of all, to win nearly 3 aerial wins. I know he's a big guy, Bella-kotchap, he's nearly 6'3", but just because you're tall doesn't mean you're good in the air. A lot of young centre-backs come to the Premier League. Well, actually, no, not just in the Premier League, in Europe, a lot of young centre-backs, even if they're quite tall, don't win aerial duels. Same with strikers, actually. It's kind of one of those things that takes time. So for a guy that's having his first real breakout season to be already on 3 is a pretty good sign. And I think that will always help coming to a more physical league. And the only concern I have is maybe it's not Jan Bednarek. When you look at I like Bednarek, I actually think he's an alright centre back, but high interception numbers but low pressure and tackle numbers. He's a sit off defender and he lets Salisu go and do all the pressing and all the front foot stuff. And my only concern with this, if Bella-kotchap is coming in to replace Bednarek as like an out and out first choice starter, you're going to have two guys that are very active and very off the line. Unless obviously Hasenhüttl decides to change that in terms of coaching and stuff. But having two centre-backs who kind of profile the same, that would concern me a little bit. Look, I really rate Ralph Hasenhüttl. I think he's a brilliant manager. I think Southampton are very lucky to have him. And I trust him to pick up someone like this and kind of develop him in the right way. And I think this is a really good start to the window for Dragan Solak and the new Southampton owners. The squad's needed an overall for, feels like 3-4 years, probably since Mark Hughes and Mauricio Pellegrino kind of times. And I think Southampton have been a bit lucky that the Premier League, especially in the bottom half, hasn't been great over the last few years, and it's kind of kept them up. I don't think that's any fault of Hasenhüttl, but it feels like Southampton need kind of like Crystal Palace last season, where they had a bit of an overhaul, kind of brought in some depth, took in some interesting punts, and it works. And look, even with Bella-kotchap, look, he could come to the Premier League and be absolutely terrible. Also, he's very two-footed as well. For one in every 4 passes to be on his weak foot, that's quite rare for a young centre-back. But even if Bella-kotchap doesn't come in and work, it's a low price. It's about 10 million euros. He's a German under-21 international. So even if he comes to the Premier League, Hasenhüttl doesn't like him and he's terrible, you'll probably get your money back after a year. It's pretty low risk. And I like Southampton doing these moves. And look, even if he is bad, you'd back a mid-table Bundesliga club would back him. And I feel like Southampton have earned this. They've been patient for a while now. Obviously, the last owners are a bit dodgy. And it's a good start to win. Of course, Southampton need more. I still think I would be concerned for Southampton next season. I still think they will be in a relegation battle as things stand. But getting Bella-kotchap in, getting Bazunu over the line, assuming Hasenhüttl coaches him and understands the difference between him and Bednarek, and assuming Bella-kotchap's able to adapt to the league physically, I think this would be a great signing. This is one of those signings like Salisu that in a year or two time, he could be going to a bigger club for triple the price, and everyone goes, wow, look at Southampton. So yeah, I think it's a really good signing overall, and good start to the window for Southampton. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, then yeah, peace.